Is the Pop Tarts Bowl the best bowl in all of college football? What in the world's going on with the NIL and Transfer Portal? And are the Chiefs paying off the refs? My thoughts coming up. Welcome everybody to episode 3 of Hagen Harrison Talks, where I sit down and share my thoughts out loud about the things I enjoy. On today's episode, we're going to be diving into a recap of the college football playoffs and the bowl season. We're going to talk about the gloriousness that is the Pop Tarts Bowl. I'm going to share my thoughts on the NIL and Transfer Portal and what I think we could do to make it better and fix it. And then we're going to talk about the NFL playoffs, the upcoming Super Bowl, and then really kind of talk about are the Chiefs and the refs and the NFL conspiring and rigging some of these games. So got a lot that we want to talk about today, but it really wasn't enough for me to I thought about maybe breaking it down into college and then NFL, but didn't really think I had enough content for each to do a singular episode on them both. So I want to just kind of put it all together, one last big football episode for the year. And so as we kind of get started, I want to dive in and talk about the college football playoffs. So if you listened from episode 1, obviously I'm an Alabama fan. Obviously hated that they couldn't get in. Remember, I said I don't believe they deserve to get in, but as a fan would have loved to see them compete. The college football playoff, the 12-team playoff, honestly, though, overall, from an unbiased standpoint, whether Alabama was in or not, it just really didn't do it for me this year. As I look at the bracket here on the screen, I know there was a lot of discourse about the first round of games and how they were all blowouts. And, a lot of people were like, what is this? We told you this team shouldn't have been in, this team shouldn't have been in, this team should have. There's just so many, would haves and should haves and hypotheticals. And, while I personally may think, would Alabama have given Penn State a better game than SMU? Would Alabama have given Notre Dame a better game than Indiana, which actually turned out to be one of the better games in the first round? I don't know. It's hard to say. This is why you play the game, though. This is why you line up and play against the other team. Because, yeah, they were blowouts, and, yeah, they were boring, and I hated to watch them. But at the same time, look at Alabama going and playing against Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Didn't show up, didn't really seem to care. Maybe because the implications aren't that you're playing for a championship, but still, I think Alabama had a lot of its starters playing and still just, if we're being totally honest, crap the bed. That did not look like a championship team at all. And so, there's a lot of people online with hypothetical matchups saying, oh, this team would have done this or this team would have done that. Maybe, but this is why we play the game. And the reality is the first round was a bunch of blowouts, but it got a little better from there. The second round, the Arizona State-Texas game ended up being really good at the end. The first 3 quarters, man, it just seemed like, well, honestly, Texas jumped out to a lead early on and then really didn't do a whole lot after that. But, they held their ground for 3.5 quarters. And then Arizona State finally started to have some things go their way, and that ended up being an amazing game. Cam Scatterbo at Arizona State seems to be the real deal. He would have been fun to watch continue to go on, but, that was a really good game. Ohio State and Oregon, I hate it for Oregon because they really got shafted as the number 1 seed. They beat Ohio State earlier in the year, and I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of teams having to play. If you've already beaten someone earlier in the year, it's hard to beat the same team twice. And so to have to beat them again in the playoffs and the championship, and it's happened with Alabama and Georgia multiple times. One team will win in the regular season and the other team will win in the playoffs and whatnot. And it's just, I don't know, kind of just one of those weird things. But you look at it, the bracket, if Texas, let's just say Texas would have won their side and Georgia would have won that side, and they would have had to play a third time. Georgia had already beaten them twice. They beat them once in the regular season. They beat them once in the national championship. And then let's say Texas wins they beat them in the SEC championship. And now let's say Texas wins the national championship. You have to play the same team 3 times, and because they beat you the third time, they're the national champions. I just, I don't know. There's a lot of this that I don't really like, and I know the way the format is, you're probably going to run into a team you've played before at some point, especially now that we're at 12. But I don't know, man. The college football playoff just didn't really seem to do it for me this year at all. Like, it almost felt like it just lost its excitement as time went on. And I'll be honest, Ohio State Notre Dame in the national championship, that was like the worst possible outcome for me as a fan. I hate both of those teams. But there were multiple playoff games that, to be honest, I didn't even know were happening until I got an ESPN notification on my phone saying like so-and-so scored. And I'm like, dude, what? Like, there's a game on right now? Like, I had no idea. I don't know if it's because they had to blend it all in with the bowl season, or if it just, with 12 teams, you have to prolong the season, and it just kind of got old quick, especially with teams I don't care about. I don't know, but I just didn't really care much for it. I mean, Penn State, I probably would have liked to see one. They made it to the Final Four, which, I mean, granted, they had SMU and Boise the first two rounds, so that's probably expected that they would make it, but I don't know, man. I mean, college football playoff just didn't really do it for me this year, and I know they're already looking at changing some things up with the seeding, and there's some talk about maybe going to 14 next year in a couple years. I don't know. It also just felt like it just went too late into the NFL season. Like, I'm in the NFL now. I mean, and as of last week, this past Monday, we're still playing college football. Like, I don't know. It just really didn't really do it for me this year. Just don't really care about how it all played out, the scheduling. I don't know. But honestly, I don't really know how you fix it either, unless you just play less regular season games to where the championship is around New Year's like it has been in the past. I don't know. I think going into, the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, the same time that you have, your, I guess, college games. I don't know. It just, all in all, just didn't really do it for me, but what are you going to do? But there were some good games. Penn State, Notre Dame wasn't bad. Texas, Arizona State ended up not being bad. I'm trying to look. I think Penn State and Boise may have been okay. I think I don't know. It just, none of them were really just super exciting, I guess. But, yeah. But I do want to shift now to bowl season. And to be honest, the way that everything has kind of gone here the last decade or so, where players, if they're not competing for a national championship, they just opt out. I get it to an extent, whatever. But I want to talk about the Pop Tarts Bowl. This new bowl game that was implemented last year has become my favorite game. And it seems like it has, I don't know if they bought out the sponsorship for who was in this slot before or what that looks like, but it's good games. Like, last year was Kansas State and oh gosh, I don't even know who Kansas State played last year, but they won. And then this year was Miami and Iowa State, I believe. So it's good games. It's not like it's Eastern Michigan and Ohio. It's like you're watching some good teams. But this bowl has been so entertaining. It's like the one bowl game that I really want to tune in and watch. I don't care who's playing. I don't care who's opted out, just for the semantics of it. Like, if you look up here, I've kind of posted some screenshots that I grabbed, but just over the years, like, the trophy is a literal Pop-Tart toaster oven football. It's a football that is also a toaster oven that you can cook your Pop-Tarts in. So, I mean, like, the marketing behind the Pop Tarts Bowl has been absolutely top notch. I wish more bowl games would approach it like this and not just slap your label on it or slap your brand on it or whatever and say, hey, we're sponsoring this bowl. Like, I think the Cheez-Its Bowl, they could have some potential. The Duke's Mayo Bowl, then there are some fun things. I think they fill Gatorade coolers with Cheez-Its and with mayonnaise and stuff, and like that's whatever. But if they were to elevate their game and do some fun stuff like the Pop Tarts Bowl is doing, I mean, you have mascots fighting each other for the chance to get eaten. And so, I don't know, dude. This is just, there were so many funny memes and stuff that came out, after and during this game. I mean, up here in the top right, you've got the Pop-Tart that was eaten last year was revived. They brought him back. Like, and there he is on the bottom right. This is last year, I think, before he was eaten. Like, he's pumped up to go into the toaster. Like, it's just hilarious, like, what they're able to do. And to kind of look at some of these, the Pop-Tart Bowl should be a playoff game. I 100% agree. That is a playoff game. I don't care who's playing in it. I'm tuning in. I'm figuring out when it's being played. I'm tuning in. That's not one that I'm going to get an ESPN notification on my phone not knowing when it's happening. I'm tuning in to the Pop-Tarts playoff game. Like, and then you've got the one, I think his name was Wildberry. He's over here, like, messing with the refs. And if you look, the score is 38-35 in the fourth quarter. It's a good game. And you have the Pop-Tart mascots just, like, messing around, just having a good time. You've got over here, the top left in the group of four pictures, Wildberry immediately joins the Iowa State celebration on the field following the game-clinching interception. So these boys have just clinched an interception to win the game, and you've got one of the Pop-Tarts running and jumping in the huddle with them, getting hyped up. You got, so the top right, this was the beginning of the game. You got the Pop-Tarts, introducing themselves, and you got this one that runs out, rips off the coat. Like, dude, I wish... And there's probably a way to put videos on here, but, bro, this was just some of the funniest, entertaining stuff. Like, whoever's over the Pop-Tarts Bowl is a marketing genius, and whoever they are, they're not getting paid enough. Like, that person and their team has got ideas that are just monumental, and it's also just a breath of fresh air. I mean... all these bowl games, they're either, to be honest, they're boring a lot of times. There's not really many fans because the way they do it, you'll have like South Carolina and Boston College who live on the East Coast go play in like the Hawaii Bowl. Like what, it's just stuff like that. It just makes it not entertaining. Nobody cares unless you're into sports betting, and then I guess that's really the only reason you watch. But, dude, I don't know. I wish more bowl games were like the Pop-Tarts Bowl, because if it was, those last 2 weeks of December leading into Christmas and leading into the New Year's Six would be so entertaining. The memes would be out of this world. Like, the internet would just have an absolute field day. But I love the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I wish that there were more bowls like it. I wish that more companies would hire some Gen Z or something to come up with some ideas for some different stuff on these bowl games. But dude, the Pop-Tarts Bowl to me has become my favorite bowl to watch without a doubt in all of college football. And so kind of keeping with college football, I want to talk about the NIL and transfer portal. So we've talked about the, I guess, boringness of the college football playoff. Then we talked about the hilariousness of the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And now we're going to talk about the, I guess, what the heck is going on with the NIL and the transfer portal. I mean, I went on when I was preparing for this last night, I was kind of going online and just trying to gather screenshots to have here alongside of me to give the viewers a visual of what we're talking about. But I think I found one website, I think it was 247 Sports or maybe something on ESPN, and it was a transfer portal list, and it's everybody who's in the transfer portal right now in college football. And I mean, it was hundreds, and probably thousands, honestly. I quit scrolling about the time I got to around 600 or so. But there are so many people in the transfer portal. And, like, I guess I get it to an extent. If I was a player and I was on a team and I wanted to play, but there were just multiple people ahead of me and I had to wait, but, like, I wanted to play immediately, I don't know. Maybe I would transfer too as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, just looking for an opportunity to get on the field. But I don't know. My generation, I wasn't raised that way. Like, if you want to play, you earn your spot. And if there are people ahead of you, you work hard and you try to beat them out for the spot. And if you don't, you continue to work hard, you stay committed to the team, and eventually you may get your opportunity. And so I just don't really like all the transferring going on. You know, guys go play here one year, here another year. I mean, TJ Finley, I think he's going to his 5th school this year. He's been at LSU, Auburn, Western Kentucky. I think he was at one more school, and he's going somewhere else this year. So, I mean, like 5 totally different schools. It just, part of it kind of takes away from the college experience. Like, you're never really invested in the program that you're playing for. So, I don't know. I don't really like the transfer portal. Again, I kind of get it to an extent, but there should totally be some boundaries or some outlier. There should be something in place to where you can't just hop in it if you're unhappy in your current situation or whatever. But then there's also the NIL part of it. I think Carson Beck, it was reported he was offered $4.5 million or something to go to Miami, and maybe that's not right, but I mean, there were reports coming out that Quinn Ewers is being offered a bunch of money to go to a Big Ten school. There's reports coming out that Bryce Underwood, the quarterback that Michigan signed, was paid like, I don't know what, $10 million or something, and has never even played a snap of college football. So NIL is just out of control also. I mean, I'm going to be honest, as an 18 or 19-year-old kid, you probably couldn't tell me either to not go take the millions of dollars. I would probably do it too. But I just think that as a fan of the game, it really is just kind of, it's taken away from it. Like, I don't know, man. And I know Carson Beck, he's dating a girl from Miami, so maybe that also had a part to do with it. But it just seems like there's no rules. There's no guidelines. There's no nothing. So everybody's just doing what they want, and these universities or these NIL boosters or whatever is just paying all these kids all this money, which I don't agree with. And so I don't know. There should be something in place because it's turning into a professional sport at the college level. You know, there have been reports come out where certain schools have offered guys money and then they haven't paid up. And so then the guys are like, well, I'm leaving. And to that, I don't blame them either. You know, I would go to the transfer portal too. If you're promised, you know, X amount of money and they're just like, well, we actually never had that to pay you in the first place. Why would you want to stay there? Why would you want to stay with a program that lied to you? Now on the other end, should you have gotten something in writing in a contract? Yeah, but hindsight is 20/20, and so I don't know. It just goes back to like there are just no rules. There's no nothing. It's just a freaking free for all, and everybody's doing what they want. I remember when NIL was being brought up, and all these guys were fighting for it. And look, I'm all for these guys getting paid. The NCAA is a multi-billion-dollar industry who has really probably done a lot of athletes and players wrong for years. You know, the Reggie Bush issue, Johnny Manziel. Like, there are lots of players who've gotten in lots of trouble for just signing autographs or, you know, whatever, and have had awards stripped away from them, and their status and social persona or whatever has been degraded. And so I'm all for these guys getting paid, right? I mean, you've got the NCAA using your name, your image, your likeness to profit billions of dollars. The least you can do should be able to sign some dang autographs and get some money, right? So I'm all for them getting paid. Now, I think there should be some guidelines, of course. I think there's got to be something. But going back to it, when this all started to come out, I was under the impression that NIL was going to be like, hey, we're Walmart. We realize that you are a really high-profile college athlete. We want to pay you $250,000 to promote our store on your social media account or something. Like, that's what I thought NIL was going to be. And I think that's what a lot of people thought it was going to be. And honestly, I think that's what it should be. I remember one of the coolest NIL deals I saw at the beginning of all this, before it kind of got crazy. There's a kid, I think he had signed with LSU for a little while, and then he may have transferred to Nebraska or something. But his name was Dakotas Crawford. And he was, I guess, kind of famously known in high school, but he had a nickname or something. the coldest to ever do it. And so with his name being the coldest, he did an NIL deal with an air conditioning company. And I remember seeing the commercial, and he was like, it was something along the lines of, if you want great AC, make sure to get the coldest to come out here and do it for you, or something like that. It was something along the line where they implemented his name into this company's branding, and that was really cool to me. I thought that's what NIL was supposed to be. And here we are a few years later, and it's just like these universities are just shelling out millions of dollars to these kids. And I mean, hey, for the kids, hey, go get the bag. Honestly, like I said, if I was 18, 19, 20 years old and somebody offered me $5 million to come play for their school, that would be hard to pass up on too. Loyalty aside, the school that I love and have played for 2 or 3 years, put that aside. That's $5 million. That's life-changing money to a lot of these kids. So I don't blame them one bit. But it is a very unhealthy and, I think, unrealistic way of continuing to go about college football. I just don't know how sustainable it's going to be. And it has also leveled the playing field. The SEC was super dominant for a lot of years, and now it really kind of seems like it's more even than it's ever been. And that's great. I think that's great for the sport. I think it's great for the game. As an Alabama fan and someone who lives in the SEC, I would love to see the SEC continue to dominate. Would love to see Alabama continue to dominate. But now that everybody's just openly able to just send millions of dollars to whoever they want, it really does kind of even it out. And so how would I fix it? I do think there needs to be a commissioner of some sort in place. Now, for years, the NCAA as an organization has been an absolute just pain in the rear end with everything. And so I don't know how they would like one commissioner coming in making decisions, and I don't know how that would work. A lot of people say Nick Saban would be a good one. I don't disagree. I think a lot of stuff he has said in the past that people called him crazy on and jealous or whatever, that he couldn't keep up, has actually come to fruition now. We're living out the stuff he said would happen a few years ago. I think he's got some good ideas. I think he'd be a good commissioner. But the reality is he's, 70-something years old? He'd probably only be commissioner for a few years, and then you've got to hand it off to someone else if he even became that. And I don't know. I think you got to have some kind of commissioner in place, and I think you've got to have some kind of rules. So just looking at my notes from an NIL perspective, I think it should either be changed back to how it should have been in the beginning with the example I gave of the coldest. Like if you've got a player that's a high-profile player and you say, hey, we want to pay you $100,000 to promote our business on your social media page, I'm cool with that. But if it's just going to be the universities and these NIL boosters and whatnot themselves, I think there's got to be some kind of cap. Because the reality is when you start throwing millions of dollars at these kids, it turns into a professional sport. You're now paying them to play for you and your university and your organization. So there's got to be some kind of cap. And I don't know if you cap each program, like the football team has a cap, the baseball team has a cap, the basketball team, or if you just say the university as a whole has a cap and y'all have to use your athletic director has to figure out how to facilitate that. I think either way could be fine, but I think just continuing to just have it be a free-for-all, I just don't know how sustainable it's going to be. I don't know how fun it's going to be as a fan because I'm an Alabama fan and have been for years, and it's been fun to watch them win, but there's something special about seeing the stories of Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, like all these guys that kind of waited for their opportunity to play. They waited for their chance, except for Jalen. I think he came in, didn't win the starting job immediately. They played Blake Barnett in that first game against USC for like the first half and then put Jalen in, and he was the starter from there on out. But even like Tua, I think Tua came in and sat. He didn't come in and play immediately as a freshman, and he ended up coming in the national championship and winning us that game. Mac Jones sat and waited. Jalen Milroe sat and waited. And now we're on the Ty Simpson train. And so there's just something special about seeing these guys like stick with a program. I think when Jalen Hurts lost the job his junior year to Tua, he very easily could have just said, well, I'm out. but he didn't. He stuck around. He worked on becoming a better quarterback, transferred the next year, because I think that is a situation I'm okay with. Like, you lose the starting job, okay, fine. But you stick with your team. You don't leave them out to dry. And he ended up being a huge part for us. I think he played a game or two when Tua got hurt, and then he had to come in during the SEC championship against Georgia and lead us back to victory, and he did great. And so he was able to use what he learned at Alabama and take to Oklahoma and work with Lincoln Riley and became an even better quarterback. And now he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion. Probably he's not as big of a name as Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and Herbert, but I mean, he's in the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years, and that's saying something. And so I love Alabama, and I love the stories that come with it, but it's getting to a point where you're not going to see that anymore. You're not going to have an incoming freshman that you're excited about. Maybe they don't play that year, but they're going to stick with the team. It's getting to a point now where if I'm coming in and I don't play immediately, I'm gone. And I just don't know how sustainable that is for the NCAA, for football, for fans. I don't know. Because if I'm a Miami fan, like, okay, Carson Beck, cool. But he really wasn't that great this year. He's a big name, but, like, it's not somebody that has grown up in your program and has been there with these guys through thick and thin through all these years. It's just you've got random people just coming in from all over the country thinking they're going to be the ones to make a difference. And maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I don't know. I think the integrity of college football is slowly diminishing, and I think the NIL and transfer portal is a big part of that, but I think a bigger part is that there's no rules or guidelines or anything. It's just a free-for-all, and everybody's just doing what they want to do. So to put it simply, I think if you want to have NIL, I think it'd be a good idea to put a cap on it, or to say, hey, the universities and you can't get money from boosters, but you can have sponsorships with companies. And then the transfer portal, this is what I would do for the transfer portal. I thought I had mentioned this, but I didn't. I think you should only have one transfer portal. Open it in the summer. Everybody that wants to go can go. But I think having one during bowl season, I think that's a cancer to a team, to college football in general. Like, there's nothing cool about that, in my opinion. Like, I mean, the backup quarterback for Penn State, they're competing for a national championship, and he dipped out. And I get, because, you know, these schools have deadlines when you have to register and whatnot. So I get it. You know, hey, if you're not confident that you will be a starter at Penn State next year and you want a chance to play and you think the transfer portal is your opportunity to do that, you got to go, because there are windows. But, dude, I think you just have one in the summer, and the reality just be, hey, if you want to transfer, you may miss out with that team, their spring practice or whatever. But honestly, if you're good enough to think you can just go somewhere and play, then leave. But you're going to finish what you started for the year. I just don't think that players should just be able to go and come at different times of the year. So I think you have one transfer portal in the summer, and they figure it out. Because I don't really like, you know, guys having to sit out a year and whatnot. Like, if you want to go play somewhere. But I don't think you should be given the opportunity to just leave your team in the middle of a national championship run. I think that's ridiculous. And it goes for all these teams who had great seasons and made it to bowl games, and they're representing their universities in one final game. And for the seniors that are involved, like, to just totally dip out on your team, I'm not a huge fan of that, but I don't know. At the same time, what do I know? But I think if you just had one transfer portal open in the summer or right after the spring semester ends, and you have like a 2-week window or whatever, if they're good enough, they're going to play. And if they're not, it don't matter where they go. But I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on that. And so now let's talk about the NFL. The NFL playoffs have been pretty cool for the most part. We're looking at this. You had Kansas City and Detroit get the buys for each conference. I think the Texans overperformed in round one. I think that game really could have gone either way, especially the Texans. They've been so up and down all year. And I thought the Chargers were more consistent than not most of the time. So the Texans played a great game. I'm a Steelers fan, so obviously I was hoping we would pull off a miracle against Baltimore, but I don't know. It's the same thing every year with the Steelers. We go above 500 and everybody acts like we're just the greatest in the world. Should Mike Tomlin go? I don't know. I mean, I think he's a great coach, but I think when you just have so many mediocre seasons, one after the other, you never really get good draft stock. And so, I don't know. The really good players we have, their window's kind of running out. And TJ Watt, he's getting older. Najee is Saquon's kind of a unicorn as far as running backs. I don't know how much longer Najee's going to have in him. And Derrick Henry, is also, but I don't know. I love Najee, especially coming from Alabama. But I think Russ was great. I think Justin Fields was great. It just, I don't know. Their offensive scheme for years has just been terrible. Like, they have lived and died by their defense. And I don't know. To a certain point, it's just your defense can only do so much for you. Can't win a lot of games when you kick a lot of field goals. So, I don't know. I could go on a Steelers rant. I love them, and they're my team, but I don't know. I just don't see how much is going to change. I don't know. And then you got George Pickens always trying to fight somebody. It's just, I don't know. So, that game went how I expected it would. The Bills whooped Denver, which I kind of figured would happen. I think Washington may have shocked everybody because I think when you got Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, a lot of people probably thought they would probably win that game just because you got a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels who is really good and has played a great year. But for that to be his first playoff game in hostile territory in Tampa Bay, I don't know that a lot of people thought that Washington would win, and they did. So that was actually a really good game. And then the Vikings just absolutely, they just sold. They folded so hard. I mean, they lost 4 games all year. 3 games. No, they lost. How many games did they lose? Because they lost to the Lions once. They lost 3 games in the regular season, I think, and then the one in the playoffs. Twice to Detroit and twice to the Rams. And so, I don't know. Maybe Detroit and the Rams were just terrible matchups for the Vikings. But to have such a great season as they did and come out and play like that, dude, that was just bonkers. It's also kind of wild. They had one of the best records in the league and had to play an away playoff game in the first round. And that's just the luck of the draw with the Lions this year. Just kind of what happened. But I don't know. I really thought the Vikings would at least make it to the divisional round. But I don't know. What are you going to do? And so then we get into the divisional round. You got Houston and Kansas City. Pretty good game there. A couple calls that the Chiefs kind of got bailed out on, which go freaking figure. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. The Bills and the Ravens was the game of the week. That's the one that everybody's looking forward to watching. And it ended up being what everybody, I think, thought it would be. A really close game that either team could have gone either way. So it turned out to be Buffalo. There's all the discourse about Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, and I think they're both incredible players. But, dude, I don't know. You still got to go through Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and the NFL and Taylor Swift and the refs. So I really don't think it would have mattered who won that game because I think the conference championship was determined either way. We'll get to that in a second. But Detroit, man, I really thought this was their year. I really thought this was Detroit's year. Dan Campbell was the perfect man for the job in Detroit. A lot of people probably didn't think so at the beginning. But, dude, he has completely rebuilt that culture, rebuilt that organization into a championship contending organization. And unfortunately, they were just absolutely decimated by injuries on the defensive side of the ball this year. I mean, I think half of the starters they had in that game against Washington were like third-string guys. And so it just, the deeper you go into the playoffs, the harder it's going to get. And it's just you just can't, they're super tough and they're resilient. But I mean, there comes a time where it's just, you just can't hang with week 1 starters in the NFL. And so The Commanders were healthy, and it was honestly probably a lot closer of a game than people thought it might have been. And I think a lot of people still had hope and belief that the Lions would pull it off. I was one of those people. But, dude, I thought this was their year, man. I really thought this was the Lions' year, and it just didn't happen to turn out that way. Great season nonetheless, but just injuries just plagued them. And now you got Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn both leaving. Both coordinators are gone. Multiple assistant coaches are gone. And so the Lions are in a unique spot. I don't know what it's going to look like. You still got Dan Campbell, who is the voice of, who's the head of all of it, the voice of reason and everything. Jared Goff is consistently pretty good. He's got weapons in St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. Got a pretty good offensive line. And your defensive guys really are not bad when they're not injured. And so, I don't know, I feel like they've got the players in place to be successful. And so now you just got to bring in some good coordinators to fill the void that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn have left, because they were phenomenal as well. I'm going to be honest. If I'm Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, I guess being an NFL head coach is the dream for everybody who is a coach. But, dude, I'm going to be honest. What you're building in Detroit is something special. And I don't know that I would want to leave that to go to Chicago or New York. I guess wanting to be the next Dan Campbell, go in and completely revitalize a program that is just not good would be very cool. And if they do it, hey, hats off to them. More, great for them. But, I don't know. I just think it'd be special to have stayed in Detroit and to, try to run it back. I know they did that last year. Ben Johnson was up for some coaching jobs last year and said, I'm happy where I'm at. I want to stay in Detroit. I want to run it back. Dude, what's the harm in continuing to do that? I mean, yeah, I guess you get a pay raise if you're a head coach. But, you're going to coach the Bears. And then Aaron Glenn's going to coach the Jets. That's I guess they're prominent programs, but, dude, I don't know. I wouldn't want to go there. And more power to them. And if they change and shift that culture, then great for them. But that's I don't know. That's just a really both of those organizations for years have just seemed like they're incompetent as the day is long. And maybe you are the guy to turn it around. I don't know, but I don't know. I would love to just see people stay where they're at and continue to build what they're at. I mean, look at Coach Spags with the Chiefs. He probably could have had lots of head coaching jobs over the years, but he stayed and been that defensive coordinator, best in the league. Say what you want about the Chiefs and the refs and all that, but their defense and Coach Spags, he's the real deal. And he could probably easily get a head coaching job. I mean, look at Eric Bieniemy. He left to go to Washington a few years ago, and then I think ended up at UCLA this past year, and now I don't even know if he has a job. I mean, you've got a really good spot with the Chiefs, and you want to leave to go try to do something else, and then nothing pans out. And so I don't know. I'm not rooting for anybody to fail. If it works out for them, great. But I don't know, dude. I would have stayed. And I don't know. Money talks too. So what do I know? But I just think there's something special about staying and trying to run it back and win with the team that you've been building back from the ashes, because they were awful just a few years ago, and now they're like everybody's favorite team. I saw somebody say everybody has two NFL teams, the team they actually cheer for and root for, and the Lions, and they're not wrong. Anytime I'm not watching the Steelers, I'm rooting for the Lions. And so I hated that it ended the way it did. Would have loved to see them go on a run. But, I don't know, just decimated by injuries, and there's just not really a whole lot you can do when that happens, and it's unfortunate. But then we get into yesterday, conference championships, the Commanders and the Eagles. I thought it would be a little better of a game. I mean, 55-23, a blowout, got kind of boring. But Jaden Daniels played good as a rookie in Philly in that kind of a playoff game. I thought he did pretty good. They turned the ball over 4 times, and it's just difficult to win big games when you turn the ball over 4 times. And so that game was what it was. And then the Chiefs and the Bills. And this game went exactly how I predicted it would. The Chiefs would win. They'd get a lot of garbage calls to help them out. It didn't end exactly how I thought it would. I thought it would be they get the ball back with 30 seconds, drive down the field, kick a field goal, and win like they seem to always do in big games. But, dude, I am so sick of the Chiefs. I'm so sick of them, dude. Like, this game last night, there were multiple calls that seemed like they should have benefited the Bills. There were two in replay review that seemed like they should have benefited the Bills, and they're like, no. I mean, the interception catch by Xavier Worthy, I mean, dude, on replay, the ball hits the ground. And I know the rules. The ball can hit the ground if it doesn't make you lose control of it. But I don't know that he had control of it, honestly. The Bills defender had it wrapped up, and then Xavier Worthy just kind of had like a hand on it. And when it hit the ground, and then he ended up just kind of coming away with it in the scruffle. And so I don't know. There's no clear control of the football, in my opinion, when it hit the ground. And the refs are just like, oh, yeah, no, but, Chiefs ball. Yeah, we completed catch. And, yeah, there was a flag on the play anyway, of course. But at least if they said incomplete pass, but there was a flag, the Chiefs would have had the ball on like the 20-something yard line as opposed to being on the 5. So there was that. And then there was late in the game, the Bills they have the ball. I think Josh Allen throws a little bubble route to Dalton Kincaid, and I thought he got the first down. I mean, he's getting tackled, and he dove, and what looks like he like owned the line, but no chain measurements, no nothing. They just play on, and then Josh Allen runs a sneak. Looks like he got it from a couple different angles, and everybody in the broadcast booth is saying they think he got it. The ref analyst is saying he think he got it, and they're just like, turnover on downs. And it's just like, dude, like, what? I'm so sick of the Chiefs always benefiting from like every game-changing call. It happens every single time. So there was that, and then at the very end, I think the Bills get the ball back. The Chiefs go down and kick a field goal or something, and the Bills get the ball back. 4th down, Josh Allen just has to heave it up because Spags calls a chaotic blitz. They're not ready for it, and he just heaves it up. And Dalton Kincaid probably should have called it, but there's a flag that gets thrown. It pops up on the broadcast. The guys in the booth are saying, hey, there's a flag on the play. And then the pass falls incomplete, turnover on downs, and all of a sudden it's just like, no flag. Just disappeared. It's gone. And every time I've seen the refs throw a flag and they get together and talk about it, they'll come on the screen and say, there's no flag for pass interference, or there's no flag for holding, or whatever. There was none of that. No conversation, no explanation, no nothing. And so I've seen some people talk about, like, he threw the ball up in the air and they threw the flag just in case the Bills would have caught it so that they would bring it back, and so because he missed it, they're actually like, oh, well, actually no flag on the play. It's like, just go figure, dude. I'm just so sick of the Kansas City Chiefs. And so are they rigging games? Like, as we look at this, and that screenshot from the top, breaking Patrick Mahomes, seen doing a jersey swap with the referee after the game, I saw that probably a year or two ago, and it is still true to this day, man. Like, I don't know. They're a dominant team for sure. They're this generation's Patriots. Say what you want about them. Dude, I'm so sick of seeing them. I'm sick of Mahomes. I'm sick of Kelsey, which I hate because last year I listened to New Heights like probably every week it came out, but I'm sick of him. I'm sick of Taylor Swift. I'm sick of the refs. I'm sick of the red and yellow. I'm sick of all of it. I'm so tired because here's also the thing. It's not just playoffs and Super Bowl appearances. They're like always on the TV. And I get it. You got Taylor Swift coming to games. You want to boost numbers, make money, whatever. But where I live down here in the South, it's always like, on Sunday it's the Saints or the Falcons, the local games. And then the primetime games, it's always the Chiefs or the Cowboys. And I'm just sick of seeing all of them. I would love to just watch some different teams for once. And so, I don't know. Is the NFL, is it all rigged? Dude, I don't freaking know. when you got so many things coming into play, and then you got sports betting and all that, it's possible. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it is. But what I am saying is I think all of America sees what's going on right now. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, the Chiefs actually have 200 less penalties than this team. Well, oh, the Chiefs actually, have been penalized more on some of this stuff. That's great. I don't care if the Chiefs have had 7,000 penalties called on them this year. They seem to always benefit from all the 50-50 ones. All the game-changing and monumental momentum-swinging, drive-changing calls, every single time they seem to benefit. Every time. I can't tell you the last time there's been a penalty called on them in a game-changing moment that has done them wrong or like that they have not benefited from. It's every time, dude. Every time they benefit. And so I'm so sick of them. This is my Chiefs rant, because after the game last night, the game started and I think the Chiefs drove, the Bills went 3 and out. The Chiefs drove down and scored, and I said, the Chiefs are about to be in the freaking Super Bowl. And of course the game ended up being good. I figured it would be, but it's just little things here and there. I mean, the call, like, it's on replay. It's evident to everybody watching, and the refs are just like, no, Chiefs ball. Chiefs get it. Like, dude, all of America sees what's going on, and what sucks is there's nothing anybody can do about it. It's $1 billion. The NFL, it's written in stone. I mean, the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, you're gonna have to score a touchdown on every single drive in the Super Bowl to win the game, probably. And you're probably gonna have to do it with crap getting called back multiple times. Eagles defense, you're going to have to stop them probably 90% of the time. Like, you've got to play better than perfect, I think, for a chance to win the Super Bowl as the Eagles. And I hate it. I love Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson. There's some Bama boys on that team I would love to see win a ring. At this point, I would love to see anybody win a ring against the Chiefs. And this is revenge season, and you got Saquon Barkley with the Eagles, and this could be a really good game. But I just know the Chiefs are going to three-peat. They're going to show Taylor Swift on the screen, and I'm going to want to throw up. And I'm so tired of them. I don't know, man. I mean, you can't say for sure. Like, are the refs rigging the game? I don't know. But it just seems really, really convenient that every single beneficial call in a game goes to them. Every single time. Every time. And all of America sees it. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. And so as a fan, you just kind of have to sit back and just take it, I guess. I don't know. So I don't. That's my Chiefs rant. I'm royally sick of them, dude. I think they are disciplined. Andy Reid is a really good coach. And again, I want to talk about Coach Spags again a little bit, because say what you want about the Chiefs and the refs, that defense, they're for real. And I'm interested to see their game plan in the Super Bowl against the Eagles tush-push, the brotherly shove. Because the Bills tried that multiple times last night and really couldn't get a whole – I mean, they were stuffed multiple times, I believe. I think they converted some, but they had a game plan for Josh Allen in that play, and they executed. And that defense, that defensive front, they're for real. But Chris Jones and George Karlaftis, I mean, they are the real deal. And Spags has them boys ready to go every week. And as up and down as the Chiefs' offense has been this year with all the calls they've been gifted, say what you want about them, but their defense, they're the real deal. And what sucks is, as a Steeler fan, as an NFL fan, I don't see them slowing down. If Travis Kelce retires after this year, there's one or two guys right behind him that are really, really good. So the tight end spot's covered. You've still got Pacheco. He's really good. You still got Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, two of the fastest receivers in the league. You still got Mahomes. You still got that incredible defense. You still got your coordinators, and you still got Andy Reid. So I don't see them slowing down. And if things continue to play out the way they are, they're going to continue to get gifted calls, and They're going to continue to win games on bullcrap mess, whatever. And they'll probably be in the Super Bowl again next year, and they'll probably win it. And I don't know. As a fan, it just gets boring, and it gets old. And honestly, if the Eagles weren't playing in it and it was the Commanders, I don't really know how much I'd care about the Super Bowl. I mean, I would watch it, obviously. And it would be cool to see Jaden Daniels try to overcome the Chiefs, the refs, and the NFL as a rookie. But I don't know, dude. It's just I've got Chiefs fatigue, and I think most of America does too. I'm just, if they would just put somebody else on the TV during the regular season every now and then, I might not would hate them so bad. But I swear, it's like every Sunday, I watch our local games, and then the 4 o'clock or the primetime slot is the Chiefs every week, and I'm sick of them. The red and yellow, I want to throw up. I just can't. I can't do it anymore. I'm so sick of them, dude. Oh my gosh, the Chiefs. Oh my God. That's my rant on them, and I'm done. And so, anyway, that's my thoughts on all of this stuff: the college football, the Pop Tarts Bowl, the NIL and Transfer Portal, the NFL, the playoffs, the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs. I really hope the Eagles win. I really hope that they find a way. I don't know what the answer is, but I hope they find a way, because I'm so tired of the Chiefs. I don't know. But if there's anybody else out there that agrees, is anybody else tired of the Chiefs? Are y'all just sick of them, tired of them, whatever? What's your predictions on the Super Bowl? What do you think will happen? Who do you think will win? What are y'all's thoughts on the NIL and the transfer portal? Is the guidelines and all that a good idea, or should it just continue to be a free-for-all? And then what are y'all's thoughts on the Pop Tart Bowl? Who loves the Pop Tart Bowl? Who thinks it's just a big waste of time? But, this is the longest episode I've done. Obviously, it's only 3 episodes in, but had a lot to talk about. I guess I probably could have split this up into 2, but, man, I enjoy getting to share my thoughts. And so if you're watching this, please leave a like or subscribe. Please comment. Let me know what you agree with, disagree with. This is part of why I'm doing this. I just want to have conversation with everybody and see what they think. And but I've enjoyed it. And so with that being said, episode 3 is now a wrap, and we will be back soon with episode 4. See you later.